Hi, hello, it's Nikki and welcome to my messy bookshelf. Today I am here with the Travel the World book tag. This is an original tag that was created by Cliff from Cliff's Dark Gems, and I was tagged by Cliff. So I just find this tag so appealing. So what Cliff did is, because he has traveled so extensively and to many different countries, he chose some of the countries that he's visited and paired them each with a bookish prompt. And I find it so appealing because I love learning about new places. I love travel, and I have been able to travel myself, maybe not to as many countries as Cliff, but I have been actually around the world. I have been on a ship that circumnavigated the globe before, and one of the coolest experiences of my life, even though I was working. But yeah, I just love the idea of this, and I will get started and stop rambling. The first prompt is UK and Republic of Ireland, known for history, culture, arts, and literature. Talk about an older book or a classic that you have read and loved. And some of you know which one I'm going to pick. Some of you might be wrong. But I chose Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes, and this is one of my new loves. I read this last year for the first time. This is about Don Quixote, a middle-aged Spanish gentleman who spends all his time reading fantastic tales and books of all kinds, and starts to believe that he is a knight and that he needs to go on an adventure. And he is accompanied by his faithful friend and companion Sancho Panza, and they go on lots of adventures together. This book was delightful to read, and I loved every second of it, so had to choose that one. Some of you thought I was going to choose the Pickwick Papers, but this one's older. Next prompt, Australia. Beautiful country with wildlife found nowhere else on Earth. Talk about a book that has an original and unique premise. And I chose one that I haven't heard anyone talk about, but maybe I missed when it was really popular. But this is Crossings by Alex Landrigan. And this is a mystery set in the 1800s, I believe. I read it. Yeah. Yes. And it is about a bookbinder that has been tasked with binding a rare manuscript, and the person who hires him is found murdered, and we find that there's all kinds of secrets about this manuscript. But the interesting and unique thing about this book is that, if I could find one of them, sometimes I open right up to one. So at the end of every chapter, it has a page number, and it tells you what page to go to next. And if you read this book cover to cover the way you normally would, it would still make sense as a story, but it would be a different story. If you follow the prompts at the end of the chapters and read it that way, you get a different ending. And I just found it so intriguing. I read it by following the prompts at the ends of the chapters, and it was fascinating. I just thought it was such a unique idea. I had never seen anything like that, and I haven't since. So definitely worth the read, for sure. It was definitely a good mystery. Next one is New Zealand, A Land of Breathtaking Beauty. Talk about a book, fiction or nonfiction, where the setting, real or imagined, is so stunning that you want to live there. And I couldn't not choose Lord of the Rings, because it includes the Shire, but also we see Rivendell for the first time. So I love it. I love it. And I would love to live there, especially Rivendell. Next one is France, Paris, City of Love. Talk about a book that you enjoyed where a love story is either central to the plot or just present in the story. Does not have to be a romance or erotica novel. And so for this one, I chose North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. There is definitely a romance, and it is not the main focus of the plot, but it is definitely central to the plot. It is part of the plot, and the book wouldn't be the same without the romance. And I love this romance, and I love this book, and I loved it when I read it. So, all right, let's move these aside. Next prompt is Germany, Oktoberfest, the world's largest beer festival. Name and talk about a book where wild celebrations and crazy parties are part of the storyline. And I chose The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald because there are wild and crazy parties in this book. And I loved this book, and I loved reading the descriptions of the wild and extravagant parties that Mr. Gatsby puts on. All right. The next prompt, Mexico, tourism and beaches. Name and talk about a book set on the coast or an island. And I have an island for you, and that is The Island from And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. This is the first Agatha Christie book I ever read when I was about 14 years old, and it made me a lifelong Agatha Christie fan for life. I have since read this book many times, and 10 strangers are brought to an island for different reasons, and a very remote island off the coast of England. And yeah, one by one they are picked off, and it is just so atmospheric. It was scary to me when I read it at 14. And even now I still get chills when I read this book. So definitely an island that I don't want to visit. Next one, Italy, cuisine, fine food and wine. Talk about a book, fiction or nonfiction, where food and or drink is central to the plot. And I chose a nonfiction for this one. I chose My Life in France by Julia Child, and I loved this book. This is a memoir from Julia Child herself, and in it she talks about meeting her husband and their early life together, and the husband taking a post in France. And at this time, Julia Child did not cook or speak French, and she enrolled at the Cordon Bleu school for cooking, and the rest is history. And it was so amusing and so engaging, and I loved this book. It made me want to read more books like that, but I haven't really found a food chef memoir that maybe some of you can give me some recommendations, because I would love to find another chef memoir like this one. The next one is Austria. Alpine landscapes, ski and snowboard. Talk about a book where sport or a contest, real or imagined, is a central focus of the story. And I have a contest for you. And I chose The Hunger Games because there is definitely a contest in this book. I loved this series, and I remember reading it with a bunch of friends when I was younger, and even now, as an adult, I love this book, this series. And yeah, that's a contest to fight to the death. So, one heck of a contest. The next prompt is South Africa, the Rainbow Nation. Talk about a book from a diverse author that you have enjoyed. Race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, or anything. And I chose The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. I read this trilogy a few years ago, and I just found it so unique. I hadn't read anything like this. And N.K. Jemisin is a woman, Black author, and she is the first Black author to win the Hugo Award in this category. So it's sci-fi / fantasy. I really have a hard time defining this because to me it kind of seemed more like sci-fi, but it's considered a fantasy. But very unique, and I loved this trilogy. So that is it for the prompts. Oh, there is a bonus prompt. The bonus prompt is, where do you live? Country, state. Choose and talk about a book, fiction or nonfiction, that reflects the culture, history, or anything else of your home. I do live in the US, but I am Puerto Rican, so I chose to not do an American book and instead go with a book called Conquistadora, and that is by Esmeralda Santiago. And that is a book I own on Kindle, but I don't have a physical copy of it. That book essentially tells the history of the island of Puerto Rico, and essentially the same history that all the islands in the Caribbean have. And that is the conquistadores came over from Portugal and Spain, and settled there, brought African slaves, also enslaved all of the indigenous people who lived there and killed most of them off with disease. And yeah, the people who you now know as Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Cubans are all mixed with all of those things. It's funny because it really does tell our story. And it's a story about a woman who comes over from Spain to be with her husband, and they own a plantation, and they're running their plantation in Puerto Rico. And so you see that side from the conquistador side, and then you see the side from the slaves. So yeah, it really speaks to me because, you know, having been on a journey to find my ancestry, I've been working with my grandmother on this for a very long time, even though she's now deceased. And even doing the DNA tests and seeing evidence of that story is just fascinating to me, and it's chilling as well. But yeah, I chose Conquistadora, and I will put a picture of it up here. And yeah, that is the Travel the World book tag, and I will tag some friends down below. But I thank you so much if you made it to the end of this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care.